That's just a joke. I actually think... I should point out, most of these are just jokes. Apart from the stuff I'm about to say about women's sport, I feel that very, very strongly. Don't worry, I'm not going to say about women's sport. I can feel you guys getting tense. I'm not going to say about women's sport what you think I'm going to say, all right? I'm actually not a huge fan of it.
Bring it out for the wonderful Tom Witcombe, ladies and gentlemen!
My comedy could be described as edgy. Some might call it dark. Some might even call it offensive. I'm assuming all of you know this. If you don't, could be a long fucking night for a couple of you. But I want you to know at the outset that I never intended to be that way. You know, I've never set out to offend anybody. The idea that someone might be personally hurt by a joke that I tell is nothing but a very fortunate coincidence. But I just want to say, if any of you are offended by anything that I say tonight, I support your right to be offended, all right? What am I going to stand up here and say just because you get hurt by a joke that makes you less worthy, less valuable, less intelligent as a human being? Yes, I do think that. Worse than that, I think if you hear a joke that you don't like and you think that comedian deserves retribution, I think you deserve to have your feelings hurt. I think you also deserve to be banned from the Oscars and have a wife that cheats on you rampantly and aerodynamically. But I would never tell you you can't feel that way, all right? And that's all I ask in return, is you don't tell me what kind of jokes I can and can't tell. And for the most part, people don't, but sometimes they do. A couple of weeks ago, I did a show in Sydney. I thought it went great. The next morning, I got a message from the guy who runs the show. He said, Tom, I'm afraid a few patrons complained about one of the jokes you told tonight, and I'm going to have to ask that in future, you don't tell that joke at my venue from now on. And I said straight away, not a problem. Totally understood. Because at the end of the day, it's his show. He sells the tickets, he deals with the complaints. I'm fine by playing by his rules. Tonight, I deal with the complaints. I'm telling the fucking joke, all right? I'm not going to tell you which joke it is, but as we go on, see if you can pick it. I think you'll be delightfully surprised. You guys should know I've been in a relationship for about 4 years now. We live together, we've got a dog, and we're at that stage of the relationship now where every romantic situation we find ourselves in, I can feel she is just waiting for a proposal. And from my perspective, that has ruined a lot of sunsets. Every holiday, every restaurant, every coastal walk, I've had to stop taking her to nice places. Just to keep her expectations in line. We're only dating at food courts and drive-thrus from now on. And I would propose to her tomorrow, if not for the exorbitant cost of an engagement ring. Made worse by the fact my partner has told me in no uncertain terms, she doesn't want a fake diamond, she doesn't want a zirconia, she wants a real diamond. And I'll tell you, it is not just the Congo where that's causing conflict. No, it's made its way to the home front. And I've tried to explain to her, you know, the diamond trade is notorious for unethical practices, for child labor. And she explained to me there are these things you can get called karma-free diamonds. What a karma-free diamond is you are guaranteed that it came from a sustainable source, from a paid miner, and in return you pay like a 20 to 30% premium. And when she told me that, I said, forget I brought it up. Let's put some kids to work, I reckon. I mean, at the end of the day, who cares if that diamond is found by a 14-year-old or a 30-year-old? Either way, you can tell people it was found by a miner. And I don't really, I thought I might have been able to sidestep the diamond altogether, to be honest. I was going to propose with my grandmother's ring, but my girlfriend saw it and told me that she doesn't like it. What a waste. All that digging. I mean, not a total waste, of course. It was nice to see her again, but... And I thought about my other grandmother, but she was cremated. And they take all the jewelry off before the cremation, I've learned. Would have loved to have known that before, okay? That lesson cost me a new spaghetti strainer. I've never really understood the big deal about the diamond. I feel like as a society we put too much pressure on it, the cut, the clarity, the quality. If you ask me, giving a woman a diamond is just like giving her an orgasm. It could be fake. Why would I care? They're all real to me. Excuse me for believing women, okay? If anything, I actually think a fake orgasm is far more meaningful than a real one. Because a real orgasm, a woman would do for anybody. A real orgasm is for her. A fake orgasm, that's for me. That's why sometimes when my partner and I make love, I'll put in a truly subpar effort. Just to check that she still cares. My partner and I, we actually bought a place together last year, which is very exciting. It was a very long journey to get there. Saving up for a house deposit was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I think the hardest part of saving up for a deposit for me was probably losing Nana. That part is tough. They don't prepare you for that in the Barefoot Investor. But hey, you want a foot in the door in this market, you're gonna make some sacrifices. I guess what I'm trying to say is, every pandemic has a silver lining. If you're willing to look for it. I like to say we live in the house that Omicron built. And it's great having a place that's ours. We can do whatever we want to it, make it our own. We're doing kitchen and bathroom renovations at the moment because we're white and middle class, and that's our culture. It doesn't get any more Anglo than a reno, does it? I mean, at the end of the day, what is colonialism really, if not just a big nationwide renovation? Just a 500-year-long episode of The Block, isn't it? Just centuries of Europeans wandering into native forests going, I'm thinking open plan. Let's get these trees out of the way. They're blocking the natural light. Great having a place that's ours, but it's scary too. That much debt, a mortgage in this city. I'm going to be paying that off for the rest of my parents' lives. And who knows how long that might be? So many variables. Do they eat well? Do they exercise? Can I convince Dad to start smoking again? We'll see. It's a waiting game at this stage. I have replaced all his Band-Aids with Nicorette patches, so... I heard a really interesting statistic about smoking recently. I don't know if you guys know this. Did you know if you go your entire life without smoking a single cigarette, you are 70% more likely to live past 80, but 80% more likely to be a little bitch? Got a lot of little bitches in tonight, it sounds like, on that response. I know it's not very popular, but just give me a word. Anyone here smoker? Any smokers in? Oh, fuck. I don't know if you just, aren't proud of that or just no longer have the lung capacity necessary. No, that's cool. What about vapors? Any vapors in? Give us a woo. All right, a few more of you. There you go. Vaping, of course, the Smirnoff Ice of nicotine. Enjoyed equally by teen mums and their kids. What a product. I really think, vaping is totally taking over the smoking world. I think vaping is going to do to cigarettes what Uber did to taxi drivers. It's a perfect analogy, really. In comes this new competitor, takes over an entire market just because it's cheaper, it's more convenient, and it doesn't have that awful smell. I will never understand the empathy for cab drivers that joke seems to elicit. Do you guys remember cab drivers? Unbelievable. It makes sense, though, that people are making that transition. You know, people are seeing how dangerous smoking is, causes lung cancer, and they're turning to the vape. And, you know, it makes sense. And I think it's interesting for you vapors to see what kind of cancer you get. Could be anything. Stomach, kidney. As a man who likes to vape himself, I'm really hoping cervical. That would be ideal for me. When my partner and I got a place, one of the things our mortgage broker encouraged us to do was to get life insurance. The idea being that if anything were to happen to one of us, the other one wouldn't be left with an enormous debt. And so this way, if anything ever happens to my partner, I will know the mortgage is taken care of. Likewise, if anything happens to me, my partner will know that I didn't get life insurance. Here's the thing, all right? If I was to die, tragically, and leave my partner alone in this world, I don't want there to be any silver linings, okay? I want tragedy top to bottom, all right? I've looked up the 6 stages of grief. None of them are profit. But we're getting to that stage, you've got to start thinking about these things, think long term. I'm watching my friends, they're getting married, they're buying houses, they're having kids. Next thing you know, they'll be having kids on purpose. And I've got to prepare myself for that. I'm not quite ready for that. But look, if it happened tomorrow, if we were to get pregnant, I think we would make it work, especially here. Australia, a phenomenal place to raise a family, one of the best places in the world. Think about the hardest question an Australian parent would have to ask themselves is like, well, should we let our kids use iPads? Easy. Other places in the world, parents have to ask questions like, well, should we let our kids make iPads? I've been looking into sweatshops a lot recently, just for a few investments I'm looking into, and it just dawned on me, do you remember like the mid-2000s? It was a massive, it was the biggest cultural issue there was. And there was news articles and there were boycotts and protests, and we just kind of moved on. Because they still exist, we just don't talk about it. I think what happened was in 2007, we all saw photos of children making sneakers. And we turned and looked at our wardrobes and thought, no amount of fashion is worth losing our humanity over. And then in 2008, the iPhone came out and we all went, oh, worth it. Is everyone okay with this? You've seen the touch screen, right? Yeah, okay. Sorry, Huang Li. Back to the factory, kiddo. All right. Oh, hey, buddy, come on. Don't cry, all right? Look at this from my perspective. Take a walk in my shoes that you made. I can't go on the rest of my life carrying a phone and an iPod, can I? These jeans only have so many pockets. And do I really have to say whose fault that is? And fair play to those kids, they do a phenomenal job. I love my phone so much, I'm not just okay with a child making it, I'm beginning to insist on it. Those Chinese kids know tech, you know. Some people would like to see Apple move their factories to America. No thanks, all right? I don't need technology made by an American child. American children need to stick to what they know. Diabetes and school shootings. Other than that, I don't want to hear about it. It's an iPhone 12, not an M16, all right? The one sole American in the room, I apologize for putting all your lives in danger tonight. That's on me. I would like to say it's very easy in Australia to kind of look at gun violence in America as this kind of weird, distant thing. We just can't imagine it happening here. And it'd be easy to think that's because we're somehow morally superior or something, but keep in mind the cultural difference, right? Can you imagine living in a country where everybody, not just police, shop assistants, teachers, your neighbors, even your friends and family are American? Oh, talk about a stressful situation. I'd be a little trigger happy myself. I've been to America. I went there very anti-gun. Spent a week in Florida. I'm at a gun store like, what do you mean 3-day waiting period? The movie's tonight. Look, all I'm trying to say is I don't want a phone made in a country built on the ideals of freedom, all right? I want it made in China, where the word freedom has no direct translation. No offense to any Chinese people in the audience. I don't know if you guys watch the news. Pretty soon, we're all going to be Chinese too. I would encourage you all to brush up on your Mandarin, as I have been doing. Just the bare essentials, you know, hello, how are you? My neighbors are dissenting. What's Cantonese for under the floorboards? Does anyone... Now, some of you might be thinking, surely, Tom, that's the joke that caused offense. And you would think so, wouldn't you? But no, slave-like conditions for children, not that offensive, apparently. Surprised me, if I'm honest. But I guess, you know, if you have a problem with the way your iPhone is made, you know, don't take it up with me, take it up with Steve Jobs. Oh, wait, you can't. He's dead. Like the workers in his factory wish they were. That's a funny because it's true situation. Okay, thus ends the first act of my stand-up comedy hour. That's the part where I pretend to tell you things about my real life as an excuse to talk about sweatshops for 5 minutes. Thus begins Act 2, aka material I don't trust enough to put at the beginning or the end. As a millennial, I'm very passionate about travel and traveling. And as a millennial, obviously by travel, I mean day drinking. I spent a lot of time in Thailand, a beautiful country. I would very highly recommend it. My one tip, if you do go to Thailand, do not book the singles package. That is code for sex tourism. And I learned that the hard way, all right? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 7 times. Shame on you. It's Roger Yu. He's a Chinese guy, books the tours. Thailand's a phenomenal country. I've also spent a lot of time in Japan, another beautiful country, it's an interesting culture. The Japanese have such a complex relationship with the octopus. I mean, what won't they do to it? Those of you not laughing obviously don't watch the same cartoons that I watch. Japan is such a strange place. They have all these weird kind of fetishes. You can buy underwear in vending machines. They've got pillows shaped like girlfriends. Sometimes I think Japan is just trying to be as weird as possible, just to make the West forget about Pearl Harbor. And it's working, you know, because I don't even think about it. And keep in mind, in 1941, the Japanese flew planes into America and crashed them into battleships. And keep in mind, this was 60 years before Osama bin Laden really one-upped them on that one. And I never even think of... When I think about Japan, I think about octopus fleshlights and girlfriend pillows and horse sashimi. You know what I don't think about? Nautical 9/11. That's 2 straight nights of Nautical 9/11 not doing nearly as well as it deserves. But when you write Nautical 9/11 down in a notebook, you don't stop saying it. You know, let's throw that away. I think the really fascinating thing about Asia, especially compared to us, right, is it's so close to us geographically, but so far culturally. And I don't think anywhere makes that point clearer than a little country that I've always wanted to visit. A little country called called North Korea. Now, North Korea gets a very bad rap, but in some ways it's actually quite a progressive place. I mean, for example, Australia has never had an Asian leader. Let alone 7 consecutively from the same family. That's very liberal, I think you'll find. I would love to go and see what that country's all about. I've heard great things, you know. Some people think it would be stressful to go to North Korea. I disagree. I mean, think about it. What is North Korea? No Wi-Fi, no television, no social media. In Byron Bay, they call that a wellness retreat. You say they have a national food shortage. I call it intermittent fasting, personally. People don't realize that people go to North Korea a lot. It's actually something of a tourist destination for some people. I mean, I actually had my uncle as a journalist. He went there, loved it. Loved it so much, he was only meant to go a week. He's been there 17 years now. Cannot get enough of the place. And some people try to tell me, oh, he's there against his will. No, I don't think so. We get a postcard from him once a year, and it has really changed him. Everything, his politics, his philosophy, his handwriting. I mean, his English did suffer almost instantly, but he loves that leader. I've been doing a lot of research about North Korea just for some investments I'm looking into, and I actually found out, I don't know if you guys know, did you guys know that in 2010, North Korea partook in the FIFA World Cup? Which is true, I blew my mind. This, you know, controversial country taking part in the biggest footballing tournament of all time. I watched this really fascinating documentary about it. It started at the training camp leading up to the games, and they were having a horror run, all right? They actually had to cut their whole camp short after their reserve striker kicked their last football over the DMZ. Yeah, they lost 2 midfielders trying to get it back. One of them hit a landmine. The other one plays for South Korea now. So I think it's the opening game of the tournament. They take on Portugal. Portugal beat them 7-0. Cristiano Ronaldo single-handedly responsible for 2 goals, 3 assists, and 11 public executions. And sure, us in the West would go, yeah, of course that's going to happen. Portugal's a great footballing nation. North Korea, not so much. But put yourself in the shoes of a North Korean footballer, one who's only ever learned about football from Pyongyang. As far as you know, you're from the greatest footballing nation of all time. You know, 7-0 isn't just the worst defeat in your history. It's the only defeat in North Korean history. You're the back-to-back-to-back world champs. I mean, sure, you're missing your best player, but Kim Jong-un can't win all your games for you. But did they let it get him down? No. No, they rallied and they fought for each other, and they went on to go the rest of the tournament undefeated and be crowned 2010 FIFA World Cup champions. I should point out this documentary did come from North Korea. My uncle sent it to me. I'd recommend it. It's one thing I do envy about the North Korean people is they have so much faith in what they believe in, you know? They truly believe they're from the greatest country of all time. Whether it's true or not doesn't really matter, though. The fact they believe it, I envy that. It's the same reason I envy religion and religious people. Christians especially, they get a very bad rap. People say, oh, they're stupid, they're idiots, they don't believe in science. But when did we as a society start respecting scientists? I mean, these fucking dorks. Say what you like about Hillsong, at least those guys are virgins by choice. I think a lot of the controversy about religion comes from a place of misunderstanding, to be honest. There's so much things that I didn't know about Christianity. Like, did you guys know that Jesus Christ was dark-skinned? I had no idea, you know, because obviously his dad was white. His real dad, obviously, not his mum's loser boyfriend. No, Jesus is a Middle Eastern-looking man, which just made me think America is supposedly the most Christian country in the world. And if they really want a second coming, they're going to have to revisit their immigration policy real quick. Because for all we know, Jesus is in an interrogation room at LAX right now, getting cavity searched beyond belief. Think about it, there's no way he's getting through customs. First of all, he's a tradie, he's not getting a visa. Second of all, he's rocking up with a passport. They're looking at it going, okay, Jesus, we needed a photo here. This is an oil painting. Which of these 13 men are you? And it says here, your birthday is the 1st of the 1st, 0. Yeah, nice try, Jesus. Back to Mexico, all right? Here's the other thing I didn't know about Christianity. Do you guys know the Virgin Mary was 13 at the time of the Immaculate Conception? Now, a lesser comedian would make some joke about God being a pedophile or something, and a better comedian wouldn't have found an excuse to say that anyway. But I don't think it has anything to do with God's taste in women or anything like that. I think it's all to do with context. I mean, think about it. God needed a woman who was pure. And you try finding an 18-year-old virgin in the year -1. In Nazareth, those girls fuck. All right. Nazareth is where the whore of Babylon took her gap year, is what I'm trying to say. I still envy it. I wish I cared that much. I know religion gives people a lot of comfort in troubling times. I attended a funeral recently. I've not been to too many funerals in my life. I've been very, very lucky. I've always had good excuses. And but I could not get out of this one. I really, it would have been a very poor form not to be there. At least that was the legal advice that I received. And it was for a family friend, and she was an older woman. She was from Romania initially, but spent most of her life in Australia. And so she was Romanian Orthodox. They had a priest there, and they began the service with 20 minutes of Romanian hymns. Now, I'm not sure how many of you may have heard 20 minutes of Romanian hymns before, but it's enough. Just to clarify, 2 people at that funeral spoke Romanian, the priest who was singing and the woman who was in the casket. Who were those hymns for? Who was he singing to? Was he singing to God? Sorry, God doesn't speak Romanian, okay? No, God speaks English, a little Spanish, and he's learning Mandarin. Because God can see the way the world is going, all right? God can see the writing on the wall. Can't read it, he's only conversational at this stage. This one could be divisive, but here we go. My brother used to be a plus-size model, but he's left the industry, so now he's just fat. Yeah, that one doesn't always go great, but I'll tell you this, it goes way worse if I make it about my sister. People do not like that at all. Even though it doesn't even make sense when it's about a man, because I don't know if you guys know this, that fat men in fashion aren't actually called plus-sized. Fat men in fashion, of course, are called management. Because the body positivity movement, for some reason, never really extended to men, did it? Society has said to fat women, hey, you are every bit as beautiful as every woman who puts much more effort and time into her appearance than you do. But then society has turned to fat men and said, maybe try and be funny. Sorry, Jonah Hill, this is a dramatic role. You're going to have to lose 35 kilos to be in this one. Maybe just go for Superbad 2 at this stage. And I don't know if this is something we really should be glamorizing in our society. I don't know if you guys remember this. A few years ago, there was a cover of Cosmo magazine with a woman on the front who weighed 127 kilos. It was the first Cosmo ever to feature a plus-size model. It was also the first issue of Cosmo to be printed in landscape. And I don't know if this is something we should be celebrating, personally. We live in a time where more people die from obesity than starvation. And it's not like when people were starving to death, we were putting them on the cover of Vogue. Okay, bad example. not like when people were starving to death out of their choice, we were putting them on Vogue. I mean, at best, National Geographic. I think... Somebody here has said Jesus Christ like 7 times, as if you haven't worked out what the theme of this show is. It's not just in fashion too, it's happening everywhere. It's all over entertainment, isn't it? It's movies, it's TV, music. Look at Lizzo. Probably the biggest pop star in the world right now. That woman's a triple threat, you know, she can dance, she can sing, and she's a larger woman. She's like all 3 members of Destiny's Child put together. But just by bringing this up, some people would accuse me of being fatphobic. I don't think that's fair, because I'm not fatphobic. I mean, I'm arachnophobic. Never had trouble sleeping at night because I thought I saw a fat person under my bed. Never been up till midnight Googling Magda Zubanski anti-venom. Oh, poor Magda. That woman's been the face of Uber Eats and Weight Watchers. Her BMI fluctuates like cryptocurrency. I think it's okay to question that part of society because it's about questioning behaviours, isn't it, and attitudes. It's not about identity necessarily. Like some people try to tell me fat phobia is worse than racism. And I don't think that's true. I've never been on a plane sitting next to someone going, oh my God, this is unbelievable. How do you even let yourself get that black? Oh. Doesn't he have any friends? Saying, John, you're looking pretty black right now, man. Ever since Sarah left, you've been stress tanning. I don't like the term coward punch. I don't like the term coward punch. I think it's very disrespectful. You know, just because a guy gets knocked out when he's not looking, it doesn't make him a coward. I don't... You guys take all the time you need on that one. I got offered a very cool gig recently. I'm very excited. I've been asked to go overseas and perform for the troops. And I'm so honored they asked me, although I don't know why they chose me, to be honest. Like, I'm not very famous. I'm not pro-war. I barely speak Russian. But I got to take the gigs wherever I can get them. You know, I don't do this full time. I have a day job. I'm an accountant by trade. And I got into accounting because life is just so short, you know. You just got to do whatever you can just to fucking drag it out. Just drag that life out. Make every 9 to 5 feel like an eternity. And you will come to welcome death. So I try to make money on the side, trying to support my comedy career. Great time for side hustles. You only have to look at OnlyFans, the popularity that that's had. I'm very torn about OnlyFans because, I mean, on the one hand, it's done so much work to destigmatize sex workers, but it's had some positive effects as well. Like a friend of mine was actually able to quit her job thanks to OnlyFans. And again, on the one hand, that's great for her. I'm very happy she can do what she wants in life. But on the other hand, something about a girl I've known my whole life getting naked on the internet just to earn thousands of dollars of my money. It doesn't sit right with me. If she needed money, she should have asked. We could have done this whole thing analog. But I've got an idea of how I'm going to make some money. If anyone wants to, I'm going to need investors if anyone wants to get in on the ground floor on this. I've been thinking about, you know, Masterclass? Masterclass where celebrities teach different skills. The problem with Masterclass is there's only one of them. There's no competitor. So the price is super high. So I'm going to come in and undercut them. How am I going to do it? I'm only going to hire celebrities who have been cancelled. Get them for pennies on the dollar, all right? Harvey Weinstein's doing a course on film production. Alec Baldwin's teaching firearm safety. Chris Brown is doing a course on self-defense. Technically, it's how to defend yourself against self-defense. I make my job sound worse than it is. I don't totally hate it, to be honest. Like, there's a lot of great things about it. I work with a ton of women, which I think is great for the company. You know, think of the savings. That's just a joke. I actually think... I should point out, most of these are just jokes. Apart from the stuff I'm about to say about women's sport, I feel that very, very strongly. Don't worry, I'm not going to say about women's sport. I can feel you guys getting tense. I'm not going to say about women's sport what you think I'm going to say, all right? I'm actually not a huge fan of it. No, I work with a bunch of women, and the only thing I don't like about it is because I work with so many women, they're making me do this sexual harassment training. It's so offensive. I don't need sexual harassment training, okay? I'm already pretty good at it. I mean, I went to an all-boys private school. I'm wearing R.M. Williams. I don't think I need any tips on how to disrespect women from some redhead with huge tits, okay? I think I got it under control. Thanks very much. Next week, I have to attend an hour-long workshop about consent. Ironically, I have no choice. Hey, fun fact, that's the joke. I think we can all agree, I've said far worse tonight, but that was the offensive one. Not the stuff about people dying of COVID, not the stuff about sweatshops, not the joke I'm going to do in 10 minutes about paraplegics. That one. I'm just surprised. And I would say the last time I got in trouble for this, I didn't get a chance to express to the people who were offended about how I felt about the situation. So I want to say now, if anyone here was offended by that joke, the way that I feel is that you are a fucking idiot. And now we can all move on. It's great stuff. I think it just goes to show, in comedy and in work, it's just so PC these days. You can get in trouble for saying the wrong word. Sure, you get fired for saying the wrong word. And look, for the most part, I agree. You know, the N word, the F word, the R word, midget. You can't be saying these words in polite discourse at all. They'll get you in trouble for saying the wrong phrase, though. I got in trouble at work the other day for using this phrase. I was talking to some colleagues at lunch, talking about one of my friends. I made the mistake of saying, oh, he throws like a girl. Now, there was a feminist at this lunch that I didn't know felt that way, who was offended. Now, did she come and talk to me about her grievances? No. I don't like to describe women using the B word, but this cunt. Went straight to my manager. Next thing you know, I'm in HR. They're saying, Tom, you can't use the term throws like a girl anymore, okay? Throws like a girl is offensive and inaccurate. You know what's really offensive and inaccurate? Girls throwing. It doesn't get much less accurate than girls throwing, all right? And let me be clear, I'm talking about girls, not women, all right? Some women are professional cricket players. I'm sure they can throw a ball nearly as far as me. I read a really interesting article about gendered sport recently. It made the point that gendered sport is an anachronism. And we shouldn't have the Australian men's cricket team and the Australian women's cricket team. We should just have the Australian cricket team. And the best 11 players, regardless of gender, get picked. And I think that's a great point. I agree. I think we should do that. And I did some more digging. Apparently that already exists. It's called the Australian men's cricket team. Look, I find myself thinking about gender a lot, and I like talking about it on stage. I think it's very interesting. It's such a big part of the conversation right now. And when I think about it, I think what I've really realized is it's a great time to be a man. as always. I mean, there's never a bad time to be a man, is there? There's just relatively better times. I mean, 40 years ago, that sounded amazing. Would have loved to have been there. But I'll take 2022 as well. It's pretty good. Some of you might be thinking, well, Tom, what about cancel culture? What about Me Too? Is it really a great time to be a man? And I would say, well, it's not a great time to be a man and a sex pest. Arguably one of the worst times to be a man and a sex pest. Great time to be a man, terrible time to be Kevin Spacey. That Kevin Spacey story, that freaked me out. You find out a great actor, an Oscar winner, is touching kids. And then you find out it's not just him, it's rife in that town. And you begin to wonder, does Hollywood have a pedophile problem? And you think about it and you're like, well, I guess if anywhere would have a pedophile problem, I mean, it's probably going to be where they keep all the hot kids, isn't it? I mean, where else would there be a pedophile problem but the 5-kilometre radius around Dakota Fanning? That's where I'd start looking, personally. It's a great time to be a man, but it's also, I think, a great time to be a woman. I think it's one of the greatest times in human history to be a woman. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. Women are finally getting paid the same as their male counterparts, well, at least according to all the blogs that I write. I think we've kind of moved on from the gender pay gap. I do. I think, and I can prove it. Like in my life, I work with this one girl. She and I earn exactly the same money, to the dollar, despite the fact she sucks at her job. Objectively, she's terrible, and I would know, she's my boss. But I think one of the best things about being a man in 2022 is finally we have come to terms with the struggles that men have with anxiety and depression. We've together put the men back in mental illness. And it's a real shame that there are some men out there who are taking advantage of this situation. Men who don't have a medical diagnosis, using this as an excuse just to share their feelings whenever they feel like it. This isn't about you, okay? I know some men, if you can call them men, who have the audacity to tell me they love me outside of music festivals. It's like, look, man, if you want to talk emotions, we can talk emotions. You're going to have to find some MDMA, all right? This is cocaine. We're talking crypto. But no, mental health for men has come leaps and bounds thanks to initiatives like Beyond Blue, Lifeline, Are You OK Day? Are You OK Day, hands down, my favourite public holiday. People tell me it's not a public holiday, but I've just stopped going to work and no one seems to bring it up. So... But Are You OK Day does fill me with a little bit of anxiety myself, to be honest. Because I know, as a millennial man, I don't have the emotional tool belt necessary to have one of the two potential conversations that happens when you ask a grown man if he's okay. Like every Are You OK Day, I'm like, hey man, are you okay? And he'll be like, yeah man, I'm doing well, but thanks for checking in. And I'm like, well, no worries, but let's keep this line open, right? Let's keep checking in on each other. I care about you. What about you, man? Are you okay? No, I'm not actually. I'm really struggling. Life's getting pretty dark at the moment, and sometimes I just don't even know what the point is anymore. Well, I gotta get out of here, but hey, I will check in next year. And I mean, hopefully I'll check in next year, right? Am I? And I know it's a little bit questionable making fun of mental health in this day and age, but I think I have a right to, because I actually recently lost a very good friend of mine to depression. Don't worry, he's not dead, he just got boring. But I think it's an important thing we have to notice, and especially in countries like this, because I don't know if you guys are aware, but suicide is literally a first world problem. It happens in the developed world way more than anywhere else, which just goes to show what I've said for years now, which is living in the third world, not that hard. I mean, those guys walk 10 miles every day just to get water. Do you know what I would give for that much spare time? I'm jumping from Zoom call to Zoom call. I barely have time to go to the kitchen. Meanwhile, Mutumbo is getting his steps up every day. And look, I don't suffer from depression personally, I don't. But I do suffer from anxiety, which, from my perspective, is actually far, far worse, because I have it. And I went and I saw a therapist about it, and I would encourage anyone here who is grappling with mental health stuff to see help, to go and see a professional. And some people would say that therapy is too expensive. But I think, unfortunately, therapy has to be expensive. I think you need to make a financial commitment to your mental well-being. Because if you don't have $100 a month to spend on your mental health, I mean, maybe you're not really depressed. You're probably just sad because you're poor. You don't have $100? That would be depressing. You don't need a therapist. What you need is an accountant. My therapist gave me a lot of help. At first, he tried to put me onto medication. He gave me a script for benzos, which is the anti-anxiety medication. Only made things way worse. The side effects were just too much. You know, all of a sudden, I was anxious, but I was also selling drugs. But the thing my therapist taught me, which was super useful, was he taught me about the power of positivity. And it's undeniable. It's undeniable what positivity can do to turn your life around. I saw a documentary recently about a man who was in a wheelchair. And he learned to walk again through nothing but the power of optimism and positive thinking. There's so much you can achieve with positivity. And now, when I see people still in wheelchairs, I just think, oh my God. Yeah. Would you get a load of this paraplegic pessimist? Just. Can somebody get this cunt a gratitude journal, please? This, unbelievable. What can you do? Some people just see the world glass half paralyzed. Gentle reminder, that also, not the joke apparently. That one's fine. We're getting towards the end of the show, and in a festival hour, you always want to leave with something to think about. What do I want you guys to really think about? And I think it's this. I think we as a society, and as human beings in general, overestimate how much control we have on the way that we think and feel and act. I think we have way more control of it than we do, and I can prove it to you. I read a story about a man who woke up one day with a headache, didn't think much of it, went about his day, and he was walking past a group of children, and he suddenly found himself having sexual urges about them. He'd never felt that before in his life, went straight to a doctor. The doctor said, has anything else changed really? He said, I've also got a headache. The doctor sent him to a neurosurgeon. They put him through an MRI, and they found a tumor in his brain, pressing on a part of his cerebellum that was causing these urges. And how can you feel anything but empathy for that man? He woke up thinking he was just a regular mild-mannered man with a migraine. Turns out he was a terminally ill pedophile. That's a fucking tough day, isn't it? And the scary thing is it could happen to any one of us at any point. Tomorrow morning, anyone could wake up with a headache, think nothing of it. Next thing you know, you're walking past a public school slower than you ever have in your life. And it's not your fault. And that's why every time I see a naked child and I feel nothing, I just think, oh, thank God. All right, put your clothes back on. Get out of here. Guys, that's my show. Thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate it.